Hello, I'm Eugene Edwards. Welcome to Fender Play Live, coming to you live from Los Angeles. Today, we're talking all about reverb. It's an essential effect that's used almost universally in music. And today, we're going to show you how to use it so you can add depth and atmosphere to your tone. Apologies for the delay in starting the show, but we're rolling now. We're live and we have glitches. It's 21st century. All right, helping us with today's topic is the effects expert himself, Nick Reinhart. Nick, say hello to the peoples.
Hey now, thank you for having me. I love reverb, and I'm excited to talk about reverb with the Fender Play audience.
I'm telling you, when we say you're the effects guy, look, everyone's looking at the shelves behind you, and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go through every one of those pedals today. No.
Well, they're all reverb pedals. So.
They're all reverb pedals. Also helping us today, we're joined by the one and only. Actually, he is a psychoacoustic effect, Dylan Caligiuri.
Yes, hello. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be here for reverb's sake.
Yes, and way to show with the Marine Layer T-shirt. By the way, you're really getting the spirit of things. It's like you're a little kid, and you're. It's like a bad Halloween costume. And
is that official or is that a bootleg print?
This is like when you wear the band's T-shirt to the concert. You know what I mean?
So on
That's
the nose.
what I'm doing.
All right, so everyone, Nick is a guitarist who's played with Terramellos, Death Grips, Portugal the Man, Best Coast, Disheveled Cuss. Actually, he kind of is Disheveled Cuss, and he's been a frequent guest, and he's hosted on this show. So most of you are familiar with him. Nick, if you don't mind telling me what you're holding there, that looks like a Jaguar. Am I correct?
This is a brand new Ventera Jag. Like, as you can see, I got this yesterday, and I haven't even done the ceremonial film.
You still at
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I had a Telecaster and I had that on there for like a year before someone at Fender said, "Do you mind if we just peel this off before we did a video?" Can we hear that for a bit? Just show off with that.
Yeah. It's a really cool guitar. Actually, I saw one of these on Craigslist a couple months ago, and I couldn't get to it in time. And I kind of, snuck around, was like, "Hey, do these exist? Can I get one?" And I was really excited to pull it out yesterday. So.
Cool.
Sounds like a Jag, right? Classic.
It does sound like yeah, exactly. Which is a pretty unique tone. So we may talk a little more about that as we get in. Dylan, you're holding the family heirloom there, aren't you?
Yes, that Jag would fit in the mix very good. By the way, it sounds killer.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, this is a '72 Tele Deluxe, and it's all the. It's been through several administrations, and you can hear the aging on this guitar.
Yes, exactly. Like a fine wine, that one. And of course, I've got the 20-year-old Parts Stratocaster. I really don't know what more to say about this. So let's get to it, guys. If you, everyone out watching out there, if you have a question about tonight's topic, drop them in the comments. We'll try to get to them. Tonight's episode, we'll cover the very basics of reverb and then we'll get all the way to the crazier things you can do with it. So no matter what your playing level, we've got something for you, okay? Something for all levels, something for kids of all ages. Now, let's start with hearing some reverb in action. So Nick, can you show off a bit? Just kind of go nuts with some reverb for a bit here so we can get used to what it sounds like. You're the guy.
Right. All right, here we go.
Well demonstrated, especially that last shot right there. That's great. So
there was a few little vibes of reverb in there, that I thought I'd throw at you.
Yeah, it's kind of a Baskin Robbins, a lot of flavors there. So we can hear, obviously there was a lot of depth to your sound, and it is almost a trick because I'm looking at you on a screen. You're a guy in a room. It doesn't look like a very large room, but the sound of your guitar, it sounded like you were in a really large room there a couple of times, right? So is that kind of what reverb does?
It's funny. You guys I got asked to come do this reverb thing, and I was kind of really nervous to talk about reverb because I've never thought about it in a way of like trying to explain it like I'm 5, right? Like,
Right,
what is
sure.
reverb? Well, it's echo, but it's not echo. It's like a cloud. It kind of reverb sounds like a cloud looks. There's a gradient to it, and it makes everything sound big and awesome. And it's an instant vibe, right? You add reverb to any sound, any input, and it's a vibe. It's an instant vibe creator. So yeah, so what I was literally doing with that sound was I have a marine layer reverb, Fender reverb pedal going in a hall setting, which is, you
Okay.
know, a big room, right?
Yeah.
Like a let's say a VFW hall, maybe a really, really big, like old vets hall
Mm-hmm.
that's super long and tall and stuff. And I just have my reverb time dimed, so it just sounds massive. And you know, it's a space, right? There's like, we're talking different spaces that create you know, this trail of whatever the sound is that, you know, is being input into it. So
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I guess a textbook definition would be that reverb's the natural result of sound reflecting from a hard surface. So, and then we have our little knobs and stuff that we can kind of make it seem like that's happening, and we'll get into how we can shape those sounds and do more. Let's no, can Nick, real quickly though, can you do a quick demo of your tone without the reverb?
Yeah. So this is just dry. This is
Mhm.
like dry as heck. So now, like, throw on this hall reverb. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
it's just like instantly like adds this like really, really neat like personality to, you know, if that's what you're going for. Obviously there's like a place in music for dry guitar, but like
Yeah.
most everything like you hear has some level of reverb on it, whether it's like being used as a utility, you know, just to like clean it up a little bit, or as like to, like I said, give it some color and personality.
Right. And now, Dylan, can we get a real quick over our head PhD definition of reverb though?
Indubitably, yes.
You're
of
the
course.
guy.
Well, no. So basically, reverb is the way that we interpret spatial perception when it comes to sound. So the visual systems are about 60% of your brain's function, and most of the things that we relate, even through the other senses, inevitably get related through our visual system. So even if it's subconscious, when you hear something, you know whether it's being heard in a vacuum, which would have no reverb, or in a cavern or a cathedral or whatnot. So
That kind of explains, like, if I close my eyes and I was listening to Nick play there, I would imagine him in a really large room
Right.
or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, okay. And this all reverb's, it's like the oldest and most universal sound effect. Dylan, I mean, I remember we were talking about cathedrals being
Yeah.
kind of.
I mean, this is really where this originates even to this day, is emulating the sound of Grecian, you know, pantheons and cathedrals and the Hagia Sophia, these like, you know, really old spaces where people got together and communed, and that's what's done musically as
and
well.
they didn't have microphones, electricity, speakers, so you had to use a hard surface, well
Right.
placed to help amplify. So that's why, like Nick, you said, it makes your sound bigger. Quick question already from Kathleen. She's asking, Nick, was a wah pedal being used in that example?
My setup that I have going here, I have a volume pedal going into a synth kind of, because I'm super into like guitar, like non-guitar sounds,
Right.
and I always have some sort of synth deal going. So if you heard something that sounded like a wah, it may have been the synth pedal. And then I've got a Fender Reverb and the Marine Layer reverb. So no wah sound.
Kathleen, part of that was just the power of reverb, frankly.
Yeah.
So, but this gets us into the next question, Nick, is where do musicians get reverb if they're not in a giant cathedral, if they can't go to Hagia Sophia or the Parthenon, you know, where do we get it?
You get it out of one of those boxes back there, basically.
Okay.
Out of a like, well, that's a really incredible thing, right? Like, you can take the sound of some whatever really, really old cathedral, and somehow the science nerds have figured out how to emulate that in a really small box.
Yeah, bless
right,
'em.
that you plug into and you throw a battery in it, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, it sounds like I'm playing in a really old, like crazy cathedral or whatever it is, you know. So And also what I was thinking is, I don't think, obviously I'm really into guitar pedals and pedal boards and playing shows and stuff. And I don't think I've played a show or showed up to a recording session or made a record without like a reverb pedal in probably 15 years. So
Wow.
it's such like a crucial thing for me to always have some flavor of reverb, of which there are many.
Yeah, and we'll talk about those later in the show. In fact, I was like, if most people, if you get an amplifier, if it's going to have any sort of built-in effect in it, it's probably going to be reverb first before, that's just how essential it is. Now, could you do me a favor, Nick? Could you play an example of a song that relies on reverb to hear how just this one effect can really change the sound of a song? And I'm thinking of something from the Fender Play site by Dick Dale, maybe the most famous surf tune, Miserlou. Could you give us?
So, okay, we all know this song, and some of us have seen Pulp Fiction, and we immediately know this.
Right.
Okay, here we go. You know this one.
Fantastic. Great
I
job,
might
by the way.
need to log on to my Fender Play account and relearn, because I think I got the first half of that riff right, but the last half may be a little wonky. So I'll get in there and make sure.
Dude, that tone was like
The
exactly.
Tone and your strum hand were so good. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just
There's
about
steam.
that. So because I thought about this too when I was getting my little setup going. So it's kind of a specific sound coming out of this Fender Reverb pedal, but this is a spring reverb, which we'll probably get into that, but specifically out of the year 1965. It's, whatever it is, however they got that sound into this box, that sounds like the Dick Dale sound to me.
Now, can you real quickly though, can you play just the first part, dry? Like play that so we get an idea of what Miserlou would be like without reverb.
Sounds like dry. Oh, that's
it's
scary.
instructive. No, I know. It's instructive though.
And that's the thing too, right? Like reverb like helps you. It's almost like a little like cheat code by throwing on reverb a lot of the times, So here is that exact thing without reverb. Wait, actually that sounds really good. Yeah. I take it back. That sounds cool. And then with reverb.
I mean, that's really obvious, right? And you're right. That cheat code thing is like when you sing in the shower, your voice is coming off that hard tile and it sounds right. I was like, why do I sing great I sound great in the shower? Reverb's helping. You have a little bit of a reverb effect going on in the shower. So now you know how us guitar players feel when we want to have some reverb going on, because when we're we're so exposed.
Singing, vocals. You have probably very rarely heard completely dry vocals in a song that had zero reverb on it, right?
Very rare. Yeah. Very rare. Now, we got a question from our Facebook community. John Smith is asking, how about spring reverb versus digital? What are the difference? Well, John, you're helping us segue beautifully into the next segment here, because now that we know a little bit about what reverb is as a concept, we want to talk about different types of reverb that you might hear. So let's break that down a bit. And for the sake of simplicity, we're going to talk about reverb based on natural spaces and reverb based on artificial environments. That's a way to kind of break them down a bit. We'll start talking about natural room, hall, and chamber reverb. So like sometimes if you get like a reverb pedal, you'll see a switch. You'll have an option of a room, a hall, a chamber. Let's talk about, Nick, can you talk about what about room reverb, what that's emulating and why we would use it?
Well, so like right now, if I were to yell really, really loudly or crank my guitar amp in this room that I'm in, it's going to produce, the signal is going to be bouncing off these walls, right? And produce some kind of reverb at that point. And the bigger you get the room, you go from a tiny bathroom, that's a reverb emulation that could be really useful, to massive, auditorium or arena, right? It's anything. It's infinite of like all the different and everything in between those two massive sounds,
Right. So and why we like, in case I've got I made a setting here on the Mustang amp where I added like a room reverb. So if I want to play like a blues and sound like I'm in a decent sized club, I would. And then if I wanted to hear that without, oh sorry, that's hear that same sound without reverb.
So with reverb, that sounds like you playing on like a Tuesday night to a very empty club.
Yeah, there's no one showed up. No one.
Right, yeah. Sorry, Eugene.
That's okay. I got to earn my stripes somehow. Yeah. All right, so now let's move on to chambers. Okay, so what, Dylan? What are chambers, and can you demonstrate one for us?
Yeah, so a chamber reverb is, I mean, it's relatively self-explanatory. I mean, it's kind of like the idea that you're in a dungeon or a chamber or a tunnel. The Miserloo reverb, even though it's spring, really does a good job of emulating that kind of space, right? And if you're a beginner and you're just starting out and all this is kind of a bizarre, strange, tech thing that we're talking about, just follow along and grab anything you can out of this and check it out on an amp or a guitar amp or anything you have at home, but don't get discouraged. Anyways, so chamber reverb, let me give you an example. So, a great place to start for this actually is the Tone app.
Yeah.
If you check out the Fender Tone app, this is a really good spot to learn a lot more about this and to really start to integrate this into your playing and to get a better explanation. Back to the chamber.
Sure.
Anyways, you get the idea. It sounds like I am in a moody, huge chamber, right? And so it's really about creating that space, about putting you somewhere, but it's in a lot of famous recordings and a lot of famous different genres of music in a different style.
Well, yeah, for historic, kind of a historical perspective, the first example of reverb, purposely being used on a record goes 1947 by the Harmonic Cats, a song called "Peg of My Heart." The engineer Bill Putnam wanted to create that vibe, and so he actually he used the studio bathroom. He put a speaker in the bathroom, played the track into the bathroom, and he also had a microphone in the bathroom, and so the microphone picks up just the decay part. And since then, obviously they put a huge, a massive chamber underneath EMI Studios, otherwise known as Abbey Road. Below the famous Capitol Studios building.
Here.
Les Paul helped design. It's like 30 feet underground, in fact. And at Motown, they just used the attic because Motown, the original Hitsville Studios in Detroit, it's in a house. So they did that with a speaker and a microphone. They used the attic, and that's how they got that very famous Motown reverb. So and Nick just used, I think, the what we call the Pet Sounds chamber.
Yeah.
I got to sing vocals in like the Pet Sounds room, the room where all that that amazing record was made, and like send our vocals into the chamber, which as you described, it's like a big concrete room, right, with just a very like specific speaker pointed whatever, and then you're capturing the sound of the room, right, of the chamber or whatever, the hall, the structure, right, because again we're talking spaces here when we're talking natural reverb. So and it was an incredible experience.
Very, very cool. It is. It's if you're lucky enough to work in one of these world-class studios, it is a pure joy to have your vocal or your instrument have that signal sent into one of those famous chambers and have it come back into your headphones. It's a chilling experience. So another natural one would be hall reverb. So Nick, can you tell us what hall is and how it's used?
Yeah. So here, I'll back off my hall sound. But again, so this is just like a I guess a space somewhere in between a room, a club, and all these different spaces. But so here's kind of let's see if this is an accurate version of a hall. Yeah. And then, but you know, this is kind of even though I've been playing with reverb for, you know, a really, really long time now, it's also kind of funny because then it's like what I'm doing right now is I'm going to like bring the reverb time kind size all the way down to 0, and let's see like what kind of a hull this is.
Sure.
Which that, you know, it's
really
it's kind of
short.
it's
The high
short.
school hallway in between the classrooms.
There you go.
go.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess it's just it, but then I don't know. It's just kind of funny playing with the sizes because it's not you're selected like an arbitrary space, but then you get to adjust the size of that space. So then all of a sudden you're like, well, wait, I just turned this hall into like a hall for like a mouse or something. You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
like,
here's an example of a song from Fender Play. Where when Elvis Presley first started recording at RCA in Nashville, he did Heartbreak Hotel, and they literally used the hallway of the studio for the reverb on that song. And of course, hall's really good for ballads and slow songs because there's a lot of space in between the notes. And Nick, I noticed at first when you used your hall reverb, you kind of played a slower passage. So here's Scotty Moore's solo to Heartbreak Hotel. See if this kind of just rings a bell.
that rang a bell.
Yeah.
It rings a bell. Sounds familiar. So again, this is a sound that we've all grown up hearing this all over the place. So those 3 types of reverb mimic actual spaces, and it's based on size. But on the artificial side, we have plate and spring. So let's start with plate. Nick, tell us about plate reverb.
A plate reverb literally involves a large sheet of metal. Am I correct?
You're correct. You're right.
Okay.
Judges?
And I guess,
Yes.
So here's what it sounds like. Let's see if let's listen to it, I guess. So I'm pulling up my plate sound. So there's your plate. But okay, let me see if I understand what plate is. Would you actually, I don't understand what plate is. Please just explain it to me because I don't get it.
So
It's a big metal plate.
It's a big metal plate. It's a big sheet. It's a big metal sheet basically suspended on springs, and you enclose that in a box. So this is if you wanted to have a studio and you don't have like a huge chamber or a huge basement to use, you would just take this metal sheet and you would suspend it on springs, make it in a little box. Again, you have a speaker and you have a microphone. So again, you're going to send the sound signal into there. That sound's going to hit the sheet. Imagine you take a cookie sheet, right, for all you bakers out there. And if you tapped it, you can hear it make a sound. Well, that's essentially what's happening with a plate reverb. And with the plate reverb, the sound, the density builds up quickly. So it's like we hear the good part kind of early, and like when you play right now, it's like your original sound was kind of like the heart of the whole thing, and that's why plates are good. Dylan, am I?
Yeah, you're right on. I mean, the difference between all these reverbs pretty much is which frequencies reverberate and for how long. Those are the two major. So if a lot of bass and everything is heard, you're probably in a large space or a chamber. With a plate, you're probably hearing something that sounds more like a telephone. Somebody giving you a call, which is the mid-range frequencies that we can all hear reverberating the most, which allows you to play a lot more notes. So that's why a plate reverb tends to be something you can do a lot of verbosity or a lot of playing with.
Right.
So in the box that has this plate that's suspended by springs,
when you say it like that,
blast
it sounds
that
weird.
plate, are you blasting that plate with like a lot of volume for it to like reverberate the actual plate?
It doesn't take much, from my understanding.
No, an actual EMT unit is really no.
How thick are we
heavy.
talking? Oh,
It depends.
They're extremely expensive, heady. Used to have to rent them for the day for about $1,000 from somewhere here in Hollywood, and yeah.
So another way you can get this artificial reverb, and it's the one that most of us have in an amplifiers that are sitting in our houses right now, are spring reverbs. And so Leo did Hammond Organ Company originally did it for their organs, but it didn't sound as great. But Leo borrowed the idea, and now you just take a couple of springs and you stretch them in a little box and you send the sound there, and the spring makes a movement and that gives us. So that's what we hear. And then of course he put it on his twin reverb, deluxe reverb, super reverb. He put that in, and so that's a spring reverb. Now, Nick, can we hear some spring reverb from you? If you can give us an example?
And that's the Dick Dale sound, right?
Yeah,
right?
That's
We're
right.
good.
That's
Exactly
that's the classic
he's
surf thing.
Yeah, and he's probably using like the tank, right? Like the tank, the old Fender tanks or whatever. That
Right.
is, like not an amp. It's just literally the like spring reverb unit.
Correct.
Okay, well, like check this out, because I really get into like percussive stuff with spring reverbs, because you can really hear the sound of the springs jangling.
Really
right?
trips that reverb really well. Yeah, there you go.
So that, and just as a little aside, my mind is always blown about how they've been able to synthesize the sound of the springs shaking, like, and put that into a pedal. Somehow that just blows my mind. So yeah, spring. And by the way, if you have like a Fender amp at home and you're not sure what kind of reverb you have, just turn the reverb all the way up and then smack the top of it. And if it goes wild and you hear this sound, then you have spring reverb.
That's right.
There you go. Okay, so we have a couple of questions from viewers saying, like, what if you're already in a big room? Do you need reverb via a pedal or amp? Nick.
Okay, well, so that was the joke I made about you playing in the empty club, right? So if you are in a big room, well, people go to recording studios because of the rooms. That's the main reason why you would go to not the main reason. That's one of the main reasons you would like select a recording studio, because they've got this live room. We all refer to it as, it's got a really good live sound for drums. It's like, Bonham drums, the Bonham style drums in this particular drum room. That's a really like specific thing. So if you had a really rad sounding room, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily need more reverb, because you're getting it. You're getting the natural version without any of the pedals or funny business. Of course, you could add reverb, digital, out of a box on top of a room reverb, but that would just be, like kind of missing the point of the awesome room that you're in.
That's right. Now, Jonathan Lingo asks a question. Can you break down? It was a perfect transition too. Producer Perry probably thinking, "Hey, Eugene, you don't have to say transition. Make it smoother than that." But I'm not. I'm dropping that. Can we break down decay, mix, dwell? There's, if you get a reverb pedal, there's like all these words on all these knobs. So, Nick, walk us through a lot of that, if you don't mind.
Well, it is a little confusing, because in like the pedal world, it's not across the board, right? Every reverb pedal you might have 6 different reverb pedals that have different knobs and things on it. But generally, there's a mix sometimes of like to mix between your like dry and your wet signal.
Can you do that for us right now? I mean, could you do like play?
I can do that, because actually what I like about these Fender pedals is there's actually not a mix knob, but there's a switch where you can take out all the dry. So here is let's do a room sound. Here's a room sound with my dry signal mixed in. And then here's removing all the dry.
So we're only going to hear the reverb.
So there's no attack on it. So that's like a really neat sound, and you can usually get that with the mix knob. You have, sometimes these pedals will have filters or like a tone on it, because the
that's
reverb,
important.
Naturally your reverb, your affected signal is going to be like a little darker sounding, so you might want to compensate with the tone knob.
Right.
So that's there. But I think the meat and the potatoes of reverb pedals is the decay, which
that's right.
You're editing, like how big the room is or the spaces that you're working with, or sometimes depending on what the vibe of the pedal is. But yeah, you can do quite a bit with reverb time, decay. It has different names sometimes depending.
That's the thing. Yeah. Now, can you demonstrate, because you have a pedal which you can control by hand there? So can you like play something with a short, like little decay, and then increase it and then go back again, so we can kind of hear that effect going back and forth?
So okay, here's this is on the hall setting, and this is with reverb time at 0, reverb time aka decay on this particular pedal, and then I'll just bring it in. So here we go. And when you dime your decay, it's almost infinite, right? It's as the biggest space you could possibly find. You're in, an arena kind of thing. And also here, let's do this one more time with the dry signal cut out, so you can hear it.
Oh. Really long decay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to think that sounds like an organ, and the reason why is because of where you normally hear an organ, if you think about it.
Right, and also just this little nerdy trick that I love doing with reverb pedals is just volume swells into it. And I am using a volume swell pedal, but you don't need that to do it. You can literally just bring the volume up and down on your guitar, right? Let's see. Like so.
Yeah, just using the volume pot, right? The volume knob on it. There you go. There's your swell.
There's a lesson actually on volume swells on Fender Play if you want to check it out too.
There you go. Very easy. Very easy to get that thing going. Anyone can do that.
No, dig this. Warren Zamfir asked a question, and Nick, you had, I thought, a great answer. We were talking before we went live. He's asking, is reverb the same as echo?
Okay. Sorry, who asked that?
Warren Zamfir.
Warren, my guy. Oh my gosh, this is something I've lost sleep over. Where you're just laying in bed, being like, "Wait, is reverb just echo?" And the truth is that seems like it's a complicated answer. But the way that I described it earlier is it almost, to me, and I don't know how this squares up scientifically, but it's thousands and thousands of echoes pushed together, all these mini zillions of echoes that are just really, really soft, and you just push them all together to get this massive reverb sound.
Right.
This
and Warren, I bet you dollars of donuts we'll probably do an episode on delay and echo, because there is a lot to be had there. But yeah, an echo is if you heard, I guess a perfect echo would be if I clap my hands and you heard the exact sound of my hand clapping coming back, and that would be it, but not a lot of decay or stuff. So anyway, we'll get into that. But
there's also reverb pedals where you can spread the reverb, the signal, and separate all of those into granular pieces to hear all the individual pieces, and then you could literally stretch it, unstretch it, and put it all back together and physically hear what's happening in the signal when you do that.
That's a great point. Now, Nick, we have a question from I can't see Nick Labron, who wants to know: is your dog alive?
Let's check.
Hey.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She's really just enjoying these this conversation and the sound. Reverb's a really it's a calming thing, right? So when I hit those just really long swells with the time cranked, it's just putting her out. And she's
I was sure it was a prop. I thought it was a prop.
Soothes the savage pug. It's been said many, many times.
That's my studio assistant, Dot, for anyone.
Okay, hi, Dot. Okay, we've gone through a lot of info and different types of reverb. We've packed a lot of information in a short amount of time. We'd like to hear how you use reverb, Nick. So how you like to use it. Just show off for a bit. And let's get into the extreme things that we can do with reverb. If you don't mind.
Okay. So I kind of just barely mentioned this, but I think there's there's just the kind of really mellow, chill way of using reverb, like we said, to just kind of clean something up a little bit. And then there's just more of the characteristic, I'm this thing I'm playing right now is a little uninspiring, so let me just hit it with some reverb, and maybe I'll just kind of I'll build something and let's see what happens here. So I'm using a little, again, this kind of a synthesized signal here, but so that just kind of video game-ish, dry, very dry. So let me figure out, let's go with the 63 Spring. Let's see if this does anything to it.
It's very doingy.
dwell knob here. Okay, so now I'm like, that's cool. I like it with the spring, but I kind of want to go with a really small room sound with something like that. So let me go to my other flavor I got here. And then, you keep tweaking until you get something you like. And that's starting to get into that, like, creative, inspiring zone for me.
Very, very cool. Yeah. And it definitely creates, I mean, you already have vibe because you're using all the modulators to make your guitar not sound like a guitar, but then you kind of create the idea of I can visualize it being in a small space or moving. Yeah, a bit. It's
I think it's so adding reverb is like the difference of like a part being like okay and something like giving me goosebumps. You know what I mean? Like it's such a powerful thing, like of what you can do when you really like are exploiting it for what is possible with a reverb pedal.
Well said. Hey, engineer Ron, is reverb really effective on vocals?
I hear it is.
Okay. Thank goodness that.
Oh, I know. Worked. I know this other thing.
Okay, go ahead.
There was this dog video that I saw recently of this dog sleeping, and this owner had taken a microphone and put it up to the dog's butt, and the dog farted, and it was super verbed out, and it scared the dog, and and it was really funny. So it also is like kind of has comedic value, as Ron just
absolutely as Ron just demonstrated. All right, well, thanks. So now we're going to segue now to the homework, and I want to thank you. This has been fantastic, and hopefully people are inspired to just look at that reverb knob, turn it way up, and get vibey. Dylan, do you mind assigning the homework today or this week, I should say? Dylan, you're muted.
So sorry about that. That was a test to make sure you guys are paying attention. If you guys are on Fender Play, we've got Create Reverb. I think we've got an exercise in Creative Reverb. We've got the Tone Quest series. Also, the Fender Tone app really helps you kind of deconstruct how a signal flow works, all the different kinds of reverbs, the variables within. So if you're confused, if you're a beginner, if this sounds like rocket science, these are great resources for you to check out to be able to sort of deconstruct these. If you are a beginner, though, the homework, the Fender Play Challenge this week, is to really just start to do some active listening. So try playing your acoustic guitar in the bathroom. It's actually really fun. You can really maybe, get by yourself for a while and play a little acoustic guitar. If you've got an electric guitar, try moving it into the hallway and then mess around with the reverb. Experiment with playing songs you know how to play with more or less reverb and really kind of feel how that can jazz you and make you want to play more often. And
keep it simple. Just play a chord. Play one note. Right. And just see how that effect is. So yeah, like Dylan's saying, be an active listener and just pay attention to what the sound's going on. I'm sorry, go on for the intermediate. Sorry.
No, that was perfection. Perfection. He's keeping me on track. Intermediate. Okay, intermediate. Listen up. Here we go. So learn Heartbreak Hotel and add reverb if you can. So the challenge here is obviously to learn Heartbreak Hotel, but also notice how you can add reverb and it makes you want to play more. It makes you feel like you're in the recording.
Here
and
it
you can
is.
Use the Tone app.
Here it is dry. I mean, it's cool, but
it's like celery without peanut butter. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Now it's got some vibe. All right, for the advanced.
Okay, so advanced. Okay, all right, I see you. Okay, advanced. You're out there. You're ready to go. Miserloo. That's it. There it is. There's the challenge. Yikes. Miserloo with tons of spring reverb. Anger the neighbors.
Yeah.
Make them upset.
Very, very well done. And then how about the giveaways, Dylan? You got stuff?
Yeah, the giveaways. So we talk about it every week, but if you're just tuning in for the first time, we actually give away something every week on this show. And I'm not kidding. We've given away dozens, if not hundreds of guitars, amps, pedals. And it's pretty easy to be able to enter to win this. You just simply subscribe to Fender Play and you can try it out for free right now. So you hit your weekly streak, which means you get 21 minutes of practice per week, and you're automatically entered to win. And I might get to call your name at the end of the show, just like this. Do you guys want to hear who won this week?
We do, and I think Nick can give you like some like cool volume swell, vibey drum roll sort of thing.
Give me
Or
something.
reverb swell.
Okay.
Give me something that conjures the winner's name.
Build the
Conjures
intensity.
it. Yes.
This is what I would do for that. I would go. No, check this out. I'm gonna go.
But don't wake the dog.
Corey W. Corey W. Corey W.
Corey W.
Corey W, you did it.
That
Way
was
to
the
go,
Elks
Corey.
Lodge reverb right there, folks. It's check out the Tone app.
That's right. Enjoy your new guitar, bass, amp, whatever it is you choose, Corey. Congratulations. Way to go. Dylan, what's the Fender Play update?
Tons of new stuff on the site. Always check out the What's New tab, because there's always a bunch of stuff under there. We've got a ton of collections in right now. Again, we've got all this Tone Quest stuff. If you want to know more about this, it's in there. Just start searching. But American Idiot, full song. Ha, that's a great mix, a great use of reverb, a great mixer, that whole album sounds amazing.
Green Day with reverb.
Yeah,
Sure.
you know it's just a pinch, just a pinch.
Okay, then okay, that's a great example of like probably subtle
That's right.
reverb to just kind of like help the mix a little bit.
That's
If
right.
you listen to again, it'll place the guitar over here, or the vocal seems more up front, as where the bass may seem at back. That's you don't. It doesn't always have to be that dense. So that's a great point. You can use it real quick. Or the gated reverb of the '80s is another good example.
That's
of that
right.
Sort of thing. Okay, everybody, thank you so much, and thank you, Nick. It's been so great to see you. Thank you for coming back to Fender Play and helping us get reverby. We want to hear what you have coming up. You've been recording. What do you have going on? I'm pretty sure he's playing a joke on us, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
It didn't
Nick,
work.
you dirty.
You're too good, man. This ain't your first rodeo.
Hey, I was born yesterday, but I was born yesterday morning.
What do I got coming up? It's gonna be Dot's dinner time as soon as we wrap up. So I'll probably feed her dinner, take her for a little walk, stroll around the block.
I love that.
I've been doing. It's been obviously like a really bizarre year. So I've been working on music. I have like a lot of really cool things that I just can't really talk about yet.
Where could we find out about them as they come up?
If you pop my name into like a search on the internet, all the things pop up. Nick Reinhart on Instagram. There's like a Twitter, all the stuff. Just pop the name in there and you'll find it. But yeah, I should have some cool things coming up. But like I have Bandcamp, bands, music.
Oh, cool.
All that stuff.
Notice when Dottie eats her dry dog food in a metal bowl, it probably makes a reverb sound if you really pay attention. It's hitting a hard surface.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, because she
She's
does
active.
this thing where she like licks it and it starts clanking up against like the wall. So yeah, I might have to like throw like a mic on that. And
Absolutely.
actually, maybe what I should do is like send my signal into her metal bowl. And,
Now we're talking.
figure
See,
out-
now we're creating.
bowl
I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
All right. We got ideas, people. Well, listen, everybody keep safe, keep practicing, and we'll see you next week at the same time, the same bat channel. Everybody play out on a long, vibey, reverberating G chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, go.